Hi and welcome back to my channel. Since I'm new to the whole BookTube thing, I thought it would be nice to do the BookTube Newbie Tag that was created by Brenda.C back in 2014, I think. I would link to that video, but it's been taken off YouTube, so that's not possible. So let's get into the questions. Number one is, why did you start this channel? Well, I obviously like books and I thought it would be fun to do something more with that interest. I'm a lurker of BookTube and I guess I finally decided that I wanted to try it for myself. I'm not really going into this with a plan or a goal in mind. I just want to try it out, see if I like it, and see where it can take me. So question number two, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Well, most of the booktubers I've been watching are either from the UK, from Canada, or the US. So I think that me being Swedish and living in France can bring some variety to BookTube. I'm sure that there are a lot of booktubers from other countries and I would find them if I tried looking for them. But when I started watching BookTube, I started watching a Canadian channel, and I think that YouTube has been sort of recommending me similar channels since then. So I read books in 3 languages, in Swedish, English and French. And I want to feature books from all these languages on this channel, but I will try to choose books that have an English translation so that the recommendations and reviews are relevant to a wider audience. So being Swedish, I hope to be able to recommend and review more Scandinavian books. And since I'm an expat living in France, I want to learn more about French literature, so I want to read and review a lot of French books, and I really want to start reading a lot of the French classics. And reading is such a good way of improving language skills and learning about a culture at the same time. And in France, literature is a very important part of the culture, so I think it's a great way for me to improve my French and learn about like French society and culture at the same time. So next question, what are you most excited for about this new channel? I think that would be connecting and interacting with other people who also like books. I want to hear other people's opinion about the books that I review and recommend, and I would love to have recommendations in return. I also want to be more intentional when I read, and I will be doing reviews on this channel, and I think that will force me to actually remember what I've read and to also reflect more about what I'm reading, what it means for me or for society in general, or whatever the topic may be. So question number 4, why do you love reading? Well, in one word, escapism. And that is one of my favorite words. I think it's beautiful to say, and I think the meaning behind the word is beautiful. So if I have to sum it up in one word, it would be escapism. I also think that reading is the best way we have of trying to imagine how it would be to live as someone else, someone who looks different, someone who has a different personality, someone who lives in a different place or in a different time. So question number 5, what book or series got you into reading? It was my mom who got me into reading. She would buy me and my sister books when we were kids, and I remember her buying Nancy Drew and The Famous Five by Enid Blyton, and especially Famous Five were my favorite books as a kid. I loved them. And then as I got a little bit older, it was really Harry Potter that got me hooked on books. I remember getting into Harry Potter when the second book was released. I started reading them, loved them, and from then on I would count down the days until the next book would come out. Question number 6, what question would you ask your favorite booktubers? Well, I think I would ask them about their guilty pleasure books. books that they enjoyed but are a bit too embarrassed to say. Question number 7. What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? For me, I think the hardest part is being natural and relaxed on camera, being able to loosen up and show some personality. I think it's hard when you're in front of the camera not to become stiff and start sounding like a newsreader on TV, just following a script. And that's not really fun for anyone to watch. So I think that's what I have to work the hardest on. But I imagine that it will get better as I do more videos and I get more practice. So question number 8. When did you start reading? I don't really remember how old I was when I started reading. But it was before I started school at 6, because I remember my parents teaching me to read before I started school. So maybe I was 5 or something? I don't really remember. But yeah, I guess 5 maybe. So question number 9, where do you read? Well, I'm lucky enough to live in the south of France, where the sun is shining most of the time. So my favorite place to read is on my balcony. I have a really comfy chair out there and I really enjoy sitting out there, watching the sea view and enjoying the fresh air, maybe getting a tan at the same time. Sometimes I also like going out to read, either go down to the beach or go to a cafe and sit there and read. And if I read in the evening, I usually just lay in my bed and read there. So question number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? Well, I guess I have 2 favorite types of books. The first one being sort of mysteries, thrillers, spy novels, crime novels, and the second being more literary books. But I'm really willing to read almost anything. As long as the premise of the books sounds interesting, I'm prepared to read almost anything. I like memoirs, history, historical fiction, sort of whatever really. Like earlier this week, I actually bought my first magical realism novel. So I'm really excited to see how that genre of books are, because I never read them before. So I'm very open to reading new types of books. So question number 11, also the last question. What does your book collection look like? Well, my situation is a little bit special. I think I might be the booktuber with the smallest book collection. So 3 years ago, I moved to another country. So I moved from Sweden to France, and all I brought were 2 suitcases. And when I lived in Sweden, I did have a bookshelf and like a smallish book collection. But when I decided to move, I of course had to move out of my apartment. And when I moved to France, I moved into a very small studio, which was a long-term Airbnb rental. So I could only really bring what fit in 2 suitcases. So all of this really meant that I had to get rid of my books. So I gave away some to friends and family, and the rest I donated. So since then, I moved into a proper apartment here in France, and I have started buying some books. I read a lot on my iPad, but I have started buying some physical books as well. So this is now my physical book collection. It's not very big, as you can see, and it's a mixture of languages and cultures. So this one is a French book and I'm reading it in French. Then I have 2 Swedish books, but I'm reading them in French. Then I have a Spanish book, which I'm reading in French. And lastly, a Japanese book, but I'm reading it in English because I don't speak Japanese. So that's it for this newbie tag, and I want to say thank you for watching and see you next time.